let me flip the page and get to this big story out of Atlanta, which is just horrifying. It's not Atlanta. It's, hold on. It's Augusta University College of Nursing. I'm sure many in the audience have heard this story. I'm sure you gals have heard this story too. A young woman, 22 years old, named Laken Riley, was at the university, the nursing school down there in Augusta, and she was killed by an illegal immigrant this weekend on Thursday. She was found dead after going out for a jog in a wooded area of the University of Georgia campus in Athens, Georgia, this was. They began searching for her around 12:07 p.m. after they received a call from a concerned friend who said she hadn't come home from her run. Within 30 minutes, they found her body, visible injuries, no pulse. And it's, they classified it now as a homicide. There's no doubt about what happened to her. The perpetrator is alleged to be 26-year-old Jose Antonio Ibarra, who has got a long history with ICE. Look at this guy. The latest statement issued by ICE on Sunday describes him as follows. A 26-year-old citizen of Venezuela, arrested by Custom and Border Protection on September 8th, this is a couple years ago, 2022, after unlawfully entering the United States near El Paso. He was paroled and released for further processing, which we all know never happens. Further processing doesn't happen. They have a free ticket to roam the United States. On September 14th, 2023, Ibarra was arrested by the NYPD and charged with acting in a manner to injure a child less than 17. We now know that that was allegedly him putting his wife's son on the back of a gas-powered moped without any helmet or restraint. That's via the Daily Mail and New York Post. And with some motor vehicle license violations. He was released by the NYPD before a detainer could be issued by ICE. Not that it would have mattered because New York is a sanctuary city and they would not have complied with any ICE detainer. So whatever. Flash forward to February 23rd, this past Thursday. Atlanta encountered Ibarra pursuant to his arrest by the University of Georgia police. He's been charged with murder and other crimes. And the question is, what was he doing here? How many more Americans need to die before someone will take the border situation seriously? Emily?
More Americans will die, sadly. Just last year, tens of thousands of migrants with criminal records were deported, and that's just a number. I think it's 35,000 around there. That's just a number of people who were deported, and now we know this suspect was not among them because he had a criminal record and he was here. So if you're looking at the numbers of people who actually go through the deportation process, first of all, a lot of them come back, but second of all, there are plenty of people that are not caught. And it's outrageous. And no other country would tolerate the amount of people who are not vetted, who are admitted to the interior of the country through our process. A lot of these people are not illegally crossing. They are now coming legally because they make appointments through CBP-1 or because they go to a sector that is, they wait on a border town and then they wait for, the quota to be one of the people in the quotas. I mean, I've watched people at migrant shelters scroll through their phones with their messages on WhatsApp from CBP, just of the totally arbitrary numbers of people that are allowed to come in on any given day. It's incredible that this is, the most powerful, wealthiest country in the world allowing the lack of security. No other country, again, would tolerate it. But we have these luxury debates in elite media about whether Biden's border is technically open or not, when if you're in Georgia or California, you could go back to Katie Steinle, you can go back to other of these instances. This is happening in the interior of the country. It doesn't
Kate
matter.
Steinle, by the way, murdered in San Francisco by an illegal who had been deported at least 5 times. At least 5
Sanctuary
times.
city.
Keep going.
Yep.
Yeah.
No, absolutely. I mean, it's just, you sometimes hear people in Beltway circles say, well, why do people in North Dakota care about the border? Why do people in Missouri care about the border? And it's like, well, what do you mean? People are going everywhere. They're spreading out throughout the United States, and we don't have a serious asylum system. And people who have legitimate asylum claims, this is another tragedy of this. People who have legitimate asylum claims are getting mixed up in all of this. And, America as a beacon beacon of opportunity and freedom for people who are being legitimately persecuted in places like Venezuela, in places like Cuba. There are just so many people coming through now that the entire system is completely broken, and Americans are suffering, let alone the migrants, who every single one of them is a trafficking victim, paying the cartels, making the cartels more powerful with every single person that is coming up through the Darien Gap into Central America, into Mexico, and then across our border. Every single migrant is making them richer and more powerful. So there's just suffering to go around, and the people who are, engaged in these luxury debates in Beltway circles about whether, the Biden border is open or not. It's outrageous. They should go talk to the families of people who are being affected by this, people who are being murdered. They don't have time for these debates.
Eliana, it feels scary. It feels like who's next? Who's going to be the next to go? Because we've got, 8.5 million of these illegals in the country over the past couple of years. We have no idea where they are. We don't keep track of them. And this guy, while he had a bad history, they're far worse. There are illegals out there right now who have committed felonies who are still allowed to stay and haven't been turned over to ICE. We've seen it time and time again. This guy, they were probably saying, he came here illegally, and then there was this moped violation with a kid, but it wasn't enough for them to actually take interest in him. And then the next thing you know, a 22-year-old American girl who was about to devote her life to taking care of others, the sick, the vulnerable, is dead for no reason in the middle of the day, just trying to work on her physical fitness and health for no reason. And what American parents are going to get the next notification that their child, who did nothing wrong and was only intent on having a helpful, loving life here in the United States, is dead because we wouldn't pay attention to this?
This crisis, from traveling and covering political candidates, political races in the West, in the East, North, South, I can tell you, people say immigration is not a border issue. This is a 50-state issue now. And the thing that's maddening about this tragedy is that this is a policy choice. Joe Biden came into office, and on his first day, said about reversing the hawkish Trump immigration policies. Illegal border encounters and crossings began to skyrocket. Only now, 3 years into his tenure, is he reverting to some of the Trump-era policies that he decried as inhuman. Speaking of inhuman, it's, the murder of an innocent American by an illegal immigrant. And then the way this is covered in the press is, the danger of being a female athlete going out for a run by yourself, and nary a mention of the fact that this murderer wasn't even supposed to be in the country. But I do hope everyone remembers that these are policy choices, and we're seeing the impact of those choices. They actually are life and death choices for these victims.
Right. I mean, I think about these parents over and over. I'm sure that they've been watching at some level the immigration debate, and you just never think it's going to be your child, You just never think it's going to be your kid, and it always is somebody's. And this poor girl, I just can't get over her beautiful smiling face, just trying to work on herself and so she could help others, at the hands of this loser, this absolute derelict. And now what? Great. So he's going to go to prison for the rest of his life, potentially. Maybe now we'll deport. I couldn't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care about him anymore. I care about all the others who are out there wanting to do harm to others. And by the way, I don't know whether there was a sexual assault. They haven't released that information. But so far, it sounds like it was just a crime of opportunity. That's how the police described it. A crime of opportunity. He saw this beautiful girl, and he decided to hurt her. It's sick. It's sick. These people come, they don't have our shared values. It's not that we don't have sickos here who are Americans too, Emily, but we have no idea what this guy's background was, what kind of damage he had. Why did we let him into our country? Why didn't we do more to stop him once we knew he was here illegally? We have zero clue of what we're letting in here next to our young girls and boys.
And it's one thing, I mean, in years past, we used to have at least somewhat of a system, go back more than 10 years ago. But now, not only are we letting people in, but once we know who they are, and once we have them on record, we're not deporting them, sometimes because of sanctuary jurisdictions, other times because the system is such a joke. I mean, it's, again, like any other country is looking at this and just completely laughing at us. And another thing that's worth mentioning is so many of these migrants now are coming across in debt to cartels. That is a fairly new thing within the last 5 or so years in mass at the level that it's happening now. They have to pay cartels to get across the border. Sometimes they can't afford, and so they go in debt. And to get out of that debt, they traffic drugs. So for a lot of parents, the fentanyl issue is so close and personal. In the same way that this young woman was murdered, there are so many parents of children who took a fentanyl pill that was precursor chemicals come over from China, mixed by cartels in Mexico, trafficked across that border, sometimes by migrants in debt, other times just by the cartels themselves and mules. And it is wreaking so much tragedy around the country because of political cowardice on behalf of centrist Republicans and the entire Democratic Party, basically, which is too cowardly to do anything serious. And you saw that with the border bill that was being debated, that would not have done anything serious to crack down on this. It did some small things. It did not do anything serious that would actually stanch the flow of people coming across the border. And if you talk to people coming across the border, you will know that. I mean, it's so obvious right now. And so you have a lot of desperate people, people who have been kidnapped and have to get Western Union wires to be released from cartel custody and then come over across the country and are still in debt. I mean, this is happening every single day to the tune of tens of thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people a year, millions of people a year in the last couple of years. There's so much desperation. It is going to lead to more crime. And it's going to lead to, as you said, Megyn, we have plenty of our own problems here. We're not saying that immigrants are all criminals. That's not the case at all. But if any of them are criminals, and we know that, it's outrageous that they're in the country. I mean, it just doesn't make any sense. No other country would tolerate it.
So you've got, Eliana, you touched on this. You've got the ideological commitment to an open border on the left. I mean, I would love to say it's just like the far left. I don't think that's true in this case. I think the left is pretty committed to an open border. They're starting to feel the penalties of those policies, but as a whole, they have this belief that that's what's humane, that's what's right. And Eliana, you mentioned the headline. So they have a compliant news media that shares the same sympathies. You pointed out the AP News headline, which was literally, as you said, the killing of a nursing student out for a run highlights the fears of solo female athletes. Talk about burying the lead. That is not what this story is about. And secondly, the Atlanta Journal-Constitution tweets, breaking, a 26-year-old Athens man has been charged with murder in the death of a nursing student. Athens man, which, I mean, everybody on X just went nuts over. And I just want to say this other thing. As all this happens with the left, the policies, the compliant media, we get news. President Biden will travel to Brownsville, Texas to meet with U.S. Border Patrol agents, local law enforcement, and leaders, according to a White House official. Okay, sure. That'll do it. That's going to appease people in blue cities and red cities across America who understand perfectly how we got into this situation. I want to tell you about the Association of Mature American Citizens, or AMAC, an organization dedicated to America's seniors. AMAC stands out today by not only advocating for senior issues, but also by pushing for conservative values that affect us all. Did you know you were in a left-wing organization if you're over there in that other one? If you join this organization, you're not just supporting America's senior citizens, you can become part of a movement defending our freedoms and securing our nation's future. Plus, membership brings you exclusive benefits like discounts on travel, dining, entertainment, special insurance rates even. Regardless of your age, if you are driven to preserve freedom, AMAC welcomes you. Sign up now at amac.us/Megyn. And for a limited time, get a free gift membership for someone who shares your love of our great nation. Don't miss out on this chance to make a difference with AMAC. Join today at amac.us/Megyn and extend the invitation to a friend or a family member for free. Hey, thanks so much for watching. If you like what you just saw, hit the subscribe button for more clips and full episodes.